Hello, my name is Hermes Pandelatos, and this is Veronica Malach. Later on, we're going to introduce Dusan Stefanovic and Kristen Steiger. We are all part of the diplomacy lab of the State Department, and for John Jay College of Criminal Justice, ICJ 401. We are presenting Turkey. This is the country that we are interested about, and we are talking about the U.S. security assistance and the human rights in Turkey. So a brief introduction in regards to Turkey. Turkey is the only democratic state in the area of the Middle East. It has a population of 80 million people, and it's the only it's one of them. It's a member state not party of the International Criminal Court. That's something that also reflects the human rights violations in Turkey. The most important thing, though, is that Turkey is a country of a vital strategic importance for the U.S. But further information about that is going to give you Ms. Veronica Malach.
Thank you, Hermes. I will just be discussing the importance and the interest of Turkey to the U.S. Several Turkish domestic and foreign policy issues have significant relevance for U.S. interests, and Congress plays a huge active role in shaping and overseeing those interests. We have objects such as the Turkey military cooperation, of arms and sales and aid, the Turkish interaction with countries such as Armenia, Cyprus, and Israel, and general Turkish domestic issues and bilateral trade. The project will provide a background information on Turkey and discuss possible policy questions and consideration for members of Congress relations with Turkey. The existing challenges for Turkey and tensions in the U.S. relation currently has to do involving the failed attempt of the 2016 coup. That was, they believe, the involvement of Mr. Gulen. He was once an imam, which is a religious leader in Turkey, once an ally with Erdogan, the current president of Turkey, and now the two have become enemies, and somehow United States, due to his current residing in U.S. and being a permanent resident in Pennsylvania, has caused U.S. to be a conflict of interest. You have the Gulen movement consists of members ranging anywhere between 3 to 6 million, and this all started with the 2013 wire. They had a wire police transaction. They had recordings of what they believe included corruption and with the Erdogan administration. In there, once that was published and revealed to the public, all the media outlets and anyone's basic freedom of speech was completely denied. You had the government that retaliated due to this, involving in 241 killings, including police officers. You had Mr. Gulen that in numerous occasions in interviews, he has said that he had absolutely no involvement with this, but yet he is still held responsible. He states that if at any given point he was aware or made aware that this was going to happen, he would have put a stop to it. So basically saying that this has caused a lot of conflict with the U.S. and Turkey, because Turkey has asked U.S. to extradite Mr. Gulen, and the U.S. does not believe in extraditing political figures without it being a numerous amount of evidence and it taking it to U.S. Supreme Court. Failure to do this has put a strain to Turkey and U.S. relationship, and it has caused Turkey's foreign policy to be away from U.S. interest. And you have the president currently looking to and has had numerous talks to make in connection with Russia and has tried to make involvements with them and failed, does not want to seek any interest or help from the U.S. Moving forward. He said that in some of the interviews that he has had, and his policies currently suggest that. So basically, with all this being said, conditional military assistance and good governance and better promote human rights faces a lot of challenges due to the gap between legislation and execution and the strains between U.S. and Turkey relation. Also, that being said, that it is hard to oppose these conditions in hopes of good governance when the executive, which is the president, is not entirely sympathetic to the law and the human rights violations being violated under his governance. Furthermore, we're going to have Kristen that's going to go in depth about the U.S. security assistance in Turkey.
Security assistance programs include Combating Terrorism Fellowship Program, Cooperative Threat Reduction, International Military and Educational Training, and Anti-Terrorism. In 2011, as you can see on the chart, it was the highest military training ever given to Turkey. And then in 2014, it was $9 million, which is the highest overall security assistance given to Turkey in the history of the relationship. In 2015, it was drastically cut to $4.7 million, and it continued to go down. 2017 was $3.8 million, and it is on track to be around the same number, if not a little bit less, in 2018. In 2017, there was no Combating Terrorism Fellowship Program, and there's also no Cooperative Threat Assistance Program. As I said, the most dramatic cut was in 2014, which came right after the U.S. dropped military supplies to Kurd forces as it went against the Turkish military and how the Turkish claims them to be terrorists. The biggest cut in it is to anti-terrorism related programs, which is interesting if you think about the strategic location of Turkey. One thing is, with tensions between Turkey and the U.S. being tense and more strained than ever, it is unlikely that with tensions between Turkey and the U.S. being tense and more strained than ever, it is unlikely that the U.S. can condition security assistance in any way to lever the promotion of human rights. This is because, for example, in China, in 2015, Turkey purchased $3.4 billion worth of long-range air missiles from them, which went against NATO purchases, NATO guidelines. I've lost my spot. I can edit it. Russia has made arms sales to Turkey and China, which have pledged to deepen security and counterterrorism cooperation. If the U.S. were to restrict this assistance, it would almost have no impact on Turkey because they are going to outside countries such as China and Russia, like I just stated. The only influence that the United States can have, that they have done before, is putting pressure on NATO because Turkey does rely on NATO for some security assistance. And now we're going to have Dusan.
Hello, my name is Dusan Stefanovic, and I am one of the members on this team. There are several factors that have caused U.S.-Turkish relations to fluctuate from strained to cordial from last year since the attempted coup against Erdogan. In light of recent events, Turkey has been deviating away from its principles of democracy, liberalism, and cooperation, and leaning towards authoritarianism. Turkey is a vital interest to the United States because it is a key ally in our fight against terrorism. It is of great strategic importance because it is a source of stability in the region that has been plagued by conflict. It borders with Syria and Iraq, and where we have thousands of American service members who are stationed countering ISIS forces. It also borders with Iran, which is the biggest exporter of terrorism in the world. Turkey holds the keys to the Black Sea. Therefore, any naval warships trying to navigate the Black Sea, they will need supervision, they will need authorization from Turkey itself. Turkey is also one of the strongest member states of NATO. Therefore, it is very important for the strategic it is of high strategic importance that the United States maintain good relations with Turkey, because if any major crisis were to erupt in the Middle East or in Europe, Turkey would be at the center. And of course, we would hope to be on our side. In spite of our good intentions, there have been diplomatic problems, such as the tit-for-tat visa suspensions on both sides of the table. There has been detainments of U.S. consulate employees, personnel, and non-extradition of Mr. Gulen has raised a lot of concerns in Turkey, because there have been an alarming anti-American sentiment that has influenced actually accusations that the United States has supported the coup. All of these elements contribute to why Turkey actually is going and looking towards Russia for assistance. They have purchased the new S-400 SAM missile defense system, which is an upgrade from NATO's Patriot missile defense. Natural resource endowments or security assistance is said to offer great opportunities for developing resource and wealth if properly managed. However, U.S. funding has been its all-time low. In 2015, U.S. cuts Turkey's security aid by $5.1 billion. In 2016, aid was further cut by $724,000, and this year, current aid stands at $3.8 million. I believe that it is not possible with current endowments to make Turkey susceptible to human rights reforms, because such endowments will have a minimal impact to the post-coup purge, as well as President Erdogan's wanting of stay in power. To conclude, the United States and Turkey, in order for them to build in order for them to have a more closely built relationship, I believe that they have to focus on having closer trade ties, as well as closer diplomatic intelligence and military cooperation between the two countries, instead of increasing pressure on already current tensions between bilateral relations by influencing human rights reforms, which in fact is counterproductive in improving relations for which both countries want benefits. Thank you.
Currently, we see that human rights in Turkey are being violated, and there's a dramatic increase in the violations of human rights. That's a result of the current coup, and of course, because of the recent referendum that actually gave more power to the totalitarian government of Mr. Erdogan. The question that arises right here is that can actually the U.S. prevent human rights violations in Turkey? Well, the answer to this question is kind of complicated, but one must not see it at face value and must dig deeper in order to give a valid answer. So let's see. Currently, Turkey just bought as Dusan Stefanovic just said, bought the Russian air defense system, missile system, S-400. So despite the fact that America was frustrated, Turkey insisted on buying these missiles. And actually, the U.S. also threatened with denial of delivery of the new F-35 stealth fighters to Turkey. So it seems that this threat to Turkey was not enough, because in response, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan responded that if you don't give us the F-35 Lightnings, we are going to remove the radars from the American radars from the Turkish soil. So it is obvious, and it is obvious that there are more powers. There are more powers in the world, and America and U.S. is not the only global power in the global arena, which means that answering to this question, that without no threats or no weapon freezes can actually stop Turkey from violating human rights of Turkish citizens, and of course, nobody can stop right now nobody can stop right now Turkey from doing whatever they do, and this this applies also to the U.S. U.S. is no longer the power that it used to be as a result of the emergence of new powers like China and Russia. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. Done.
I feel like I fucked up.
No, you did very well.